Rolling back at you, patrons, with another episode of the Premier Planet podcast. Justin Barlow, Rock and Randy, coming off of PPW310 this last Saturday. We had a number one contenders match in Nestra against Tim Castle. Jose Acosta got a little bit of payback on Nestra during that one. We also had the Tag Rumble, who crowned number one contenders for the tag titles, which ended up being Charlie Hustle and Slick Willie.
Yeah,
and they took on the tag champs, Chase and Sem. They came up a little bit short in that, but impressive enough where they've been given another chance this coming Saturday night. And
hey, we let the fans decide that shit.
Yeah. And we got the Armageddon Gauntlet coming up this Saturday. It's our signature match.
That's shit.
Lumberjack-style gauntlet. Everybody's going to be at ringside at the same time. And when their number's called, they get in the ring, but even after they've been eliminated, they got to stay at ringside.
And serve as lumberjacks.
What else do we have on Saturday? Uncle Nate finally made Poncho say uncle after Poncho saying all week he wasn't going to say uncle.
That was cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was an awesome spin to a submission match.
Oh, yeah. And you know what I love about that? He beat him with a basic stretch, with that abdominal stretch.
Yep.
But, you know, we talk about it on commentary.
Well, they were jockeying for it.
Yeah.
You know, and you want to see that one, please go to the subscription. That's
on the subscription, yeah. We got 3 free matches on YouTube from this week, but, yeah, that's not one of them. So that's going to be on the subscription. So you said you had an idea that you wanted to run by.
Yes. What I'm doing is I'm currently looking at the T-shirts. T-shirt money and from streaming, and I'll be damned if the guys aren't starting to get over. You know, pretty cool.
Yeah, and we got those new shirts on there too. Yeah,
man. I mean, you guys got to fuck with our pro wrestling tees. We have got to also figure out a discount code for that shit for patrons. We got some really cool shirt designs.
Yeah.
There's more shirt designs than old Rand is used to.
Yeah.
And Rand is even aware of, you know.
I know Chase has a new one. DeMarcio has one. Poncho has one now.
Yes.
Scoop up your Poncho shirt.
Yeah, man, that's amazing. So, yeah, the only thing I'm trying to get at is this. So the way this whole thing started, I nutted up and took a chance and went to the Mid-South for a 3-day tryout and ended up going in there off and on for 5 years. With the longest stint being working every night of the week and twice on Saturdays for 9 months. That was outstanding. In between road trips, I'm going to say, I think it was after Dallas. Yes, it was definitely after Dallas. I went down and worked for World Class. I wanted to really learn this industry. I mean, learn this motherfucking industry. And there's no way to learn this fucking industry any better than working every night and twice on Saturdays, you know? And I liked Dallas. It was cool as fuck to work for Fritz and Kevin. But
Ringy.
It's a no caller ID, so you know what? We're not going to answer it. But I wanted to work every night. I wanted to learn. You know what I mean? So there's nowhere to go, you know? It was so fucking frustrating. But looking back now and seeing all the other stuff and hearing what I've heard, reading between the lines, you know, as everybody is in this world, we're our own worst enemies in most cases. And I guess what I'm starting to realize is I, as a performer, was ready, you know, was ready to go to the next level, was ready to go to work for Vince or WCW at the time, you know. A couple of things I had going, I had when not Ole had the book, Bill Watts had the book. There was a worker by the name of J.T. Southern, and I saw they were trying to develop him. He was 6'5", 250-pounder, looked like motherfucking cross between Vince Neil and Bret Michaels, good-looking motherfucker. The difference between him and I is, of course, that size, but we wore a lot of the same shit, and he was trying to do the same kind of gimmick I was. late 80s, early 90s, which is that rock and roll, heavy metal, glam rock type shit, you know. He was a good-looking motherfucker, but couldn't work a lick, you know, and you couldn't teach him nothing, you know. They really tried. So they got not all Freebirds. Terry Gordy was making his money in Japan, going in and out of WCW, but they saw more money in Terry at the time working with Dr. Death, you know, and taking from the Japan model. But they had Jimmy Garvin and Michael P.S. Hayes, you know, and they wanted to push them a little bit in their older years as, you know, the new Freebirds.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think they would fuck with Buddy at the time, only because Buddy was older, and at this point I think Buddy was very hard to work with, you know. So I seen that happen, and I gave a call. I forget even who I got it from, but Magnum TA was handling talent relations, and I hit up Magnum TA and said, you know, I'm this guy, and you know, I cut my teeth, made my bones in the Mid-South territory for Jerry. I want to say I got the information from Jerry Jarrett. I know it was Jerry Jarrett, because for a little bit there, when you talk with Watts, I'm sure Watts was communicating with Jerry, because they had a great working relationship, you know. People had honor back then in the wrestling industry, and I wouldn't be surprised if Watts had picked at Jerry's brain from time to time. Then what happens is Jerry can hit him up for talent exchanges, you know what I mean? Finding out if somebody came in, if he was the shits or not, if he was worth bringing in and building up, you know, because then if somebody builds you up and brings you in, even though the money wasn't what it is today for Vince, you know, they were fucking putting an investment in you and taking a chance. TV time has always been motherfucking valuable, you know. So, I had Magnum on the ropes, and once Magnum finally found out who I was, got the stamp of approval from somebody, he said that'd be a great fucking idea, because I could do the work for JT, which we would be the heels, and then I could also work with those older guys who couldn't do the shit they used to be able to do. And I was like, man, this would be fucking great, you know. But then they shit canned JT because they just couldn't turn him into a worker. I think I could have, you know. I think he wouldn't have been in a better spot working with me, Jimmy Garvin, and Michael P.S. Hayes in that kind of scenario, but that's when the business started to change a little bit. I think Watts would see the value in it, but I don't think WCW would, you know. Because, you know, kind of from the get-go, and i.e., I don't even think Watts lasted a year or much over a year there. They started that business model of throw shit against the wall and see what sticks, rather, you know, trying to fucking teach Vince a lesson rather than fucking build your own shit. You know what I mean? And capitalize off of what they already had, which was a tremendous and actually the first syndicated show that was available in every home that had cable on TBS. You know? So, that being said, I had met Patrice, knocked Patrice up, no ifs, ands, buts, or second thoughts. There's a baby coming, I've got to make ends meet, I've got to make this work. That's just not how I was raised. Well, definitely not how I was raised. I guess it's in my culture, it's in my nature, and that's what my grandparents would have done. You know what I mean? And there's no two ways about it. It's shotgun wedding, don't make a fuck. I like this girl, or what I thought. I love this girl, what I thought was this girl. You know what I mean? And I started to make money in another industry while keeping my pulse on this industry. You know? And the first thing, you know, that happened, you know, they kept calling me, and I didn't want to go work. Sometimes I'd go work. It depended on what I was making. You know, which I ended up making a lot of money. It didn't make it worth it to go fucking do these shots for WWF or WWE. But I got this weird opportunity with Bally Midway, and you should probably use this as the graphic maybe, to work on the WrestleMania arcade game, you know? Bally Midway, Mark Trammell, and I forget the other fella's names. There's another guy that's right below Mark that pretty much fucking reinvented, or maybe invented, the video game industry, man. They were responsible for NBA Jam, and they want to do that with wrestling, you know? So that was wild. I was learning how to be a businessman, even though I had some decent business principles from watching everything I saw in Memphis. But I started to realize how hard it was to show people like that, who were accomplished in that, who were sensitive and, would take how you said things very personal, you know what I mean? How to put that shit together and bridge those gaps, as well as incept and be, in part, creative, putting that fucking game together, So I'm the first one in, work with the crew, 2 or 3 really long motherfucking 16-hour days, man. Coming up with shit and working with what they had, because God forbid they bring a fucking ring in, But nobody really thought like that at the time, If I was Bally Midway, I would have bought those poor guys a ring because they're working with what they were working with, So we're trying to put this shit together. And if you look back, it was a pretty fucking cool game. You ever played a motherfucking game?
Yeah, was that the WrestleMania game?
Yeah,
I had that game.
The first one was the arcade game.
Yeah, I had that one.
It's a pretty good game considering when it was incepted,
Yeah.
That was really cool because I had Ann Ryan, Vince's assistant. I don't know if she still is, but she was his longtime assistant, calling me direct. Second time I came in to work with Matt Bourne, they sent an agent with, which was smart. They sent Blackjack Lanza with to supervise because the boys were a little out of control at the time. There was no, other than the fact that you're making money, boys were boys, and this control thing, they could easily fuck that deal up. Especially a guy like Matt Bourne, who was a great fucking human being, but Matt, man, I mean, if he got out of control, nobody's going to stop that motherfucker. You know what I mean? Yeah. Matt's going to set the rules where they didn't really need that at the time. They needed somebody that could abide by the rules. They sent Blackjack Lanza with as an agent to try to help control that, which Jack knew Bourne. I think Jack worked with Bourne's daddy, but Jack had no fucking clue what he was getting into with Matt Bourne. Matt Bourne was pretty new at Vince's, and he was really over his motherfucking doink. Like, way over. He was Bally Midway's most inspirational character to do the NBA Jam with motherfucking wrestling, The gimmick was amazing, and Matt was amazing at it. A clown that could actually rip your fucking head off.
You know what's funny? I was thinking about Doink just yesterday, and what a great gimmick that was. A gimmick that should not have worked, but you put it on the right guy.
And all that shit goes to Vince McMahon. I mean, you can say whatever you want about the guy, but he had an idea, might have tried it with other people, had other people in mind, but not like Matt. Matt.
I remember that character because it reminded me of Cesar Romero's Joker from the old Batman TV show.
That was before the Batman movies too, right?
No, it was just after. It was
Okay.
because Nicholson was the Joker in '89, and
Okay.
Doink came around I think in '92.
Okay, I got you. Wasn't trying to cut you off.
No, that's cool.
So, me and Matt and I were both down at World Class at the fucking Sportatorium. Everybody got $75 a fucking match, and we were only working on Fridays, which sucked.
Yeah.
Maybe Saturdays. 1 day a week. And, just to make things fair, nobody had nothing to bitch about, or everybody had something to bitch about. That's what we were paid. So, Matt, and I told you this before, I've told everybody this before, that Matt's first pay-per-view check was $7,500 fucking dollars, which is fucking huge. So Matt was playing hard to work with, and he'd been up all night partying, because that's what you did in Chicago. You go to the Stay Out Lounge, and you fucking stay up all night and party, This is a long, horrifying day. Wrestling, you're in the locker room. When you're a worker, you don't spend much time putting your shit together, then you go out there and perform. Well, I'll be goddamned. I mean, this is like fucking even worse than drills, the things you're trying to do and get right for this video game. I don't think Matt is ever used to something like that. And it will wear your ass out. They had what they would call craft services, but craft services were shit, man. It was snacks. You're talking about a guy that's 260 fucking pounds, probably 6'2" or 3. There wasn't enough food to eat, so that motherfucker was spent, but he was selling being spent. Halfway through the day, like, fuck this and fuck these guys, you know what I mean? He didn't understand the money that he was going to make from the game and the money the company was going to make from the game, but also where this puts you in the pecking order with Vince McMahon in the company, So I just said, Matt, motherfucker, I mean, Jack's trying to get him up, and he's just laying there, and Jack's calling the office, and I go, fuck this, let me try it. Matt! Dude, 3 years ago or less than, we were making $75 a night a piece, if we needed it or not, in the Sportatorium. You just made your first pay-per-view check for $7,500. Come on, man, get up, let's finish this motherfucking thing. Guy looks at me for a second, I was like, uh-oh. You know what I mean? But he shakes his head, shakes it off, pops up, and no, man, we finished that shit, record time. So I says, Jack's like, man, you got away with people. And I'm like, thanks,
Yeah,
that was cool.
Can't argue with the result, because that was a great game. I used to love playing that.
Yeah, and you like, by today's standards, let's say a kid that's 12 to 18 looks at the video game and sees the shit. You don't understand. A human actually went through those movements, and then they were taped and digitized.
Yep.
You know what I mean? A human had to do that shit, so it was a lot of work.
I remember the magazine back before the game came out. They had like a behind-the-scenes kind of feature. It showed everybody against the green screen, the guys in the green suits with the cables and the wires. Looked like a movie set.
Unbelievable. And that's all shit that I incepted with Trammell. The moves and how to do them, Then we didn't have no wires with Matt. They got it later because I actually had to hold that fucker up for a standing suplex for like fucking 20 seconds, 10 times in a row. Oh, you know what I mean? But they gave us some help. They got some help later. So that's when I started to realize that me leaving to go work there for $250 a day, leaving my company, I was losing money by not being there to supervise. So I told Annie, I said, I got passed this shit off to somebody else. We got it all laid off. The work is done, And I passed it off to Sonny Rogers, and it didn't work out because Sonny didn't have that agent thing going or that connection with like a Matt Bourne or whoever to say, let's get to work, She kept calling and kept calling. I kept saying, dear, I just can't justify it, Now, I wouldn't say I was kissing WWE goodbye or anything like that. I was just saying finally, it's not worth it. I'm more than this, now, And I had a family to feed, man. I had a motherfucking child, and what used to be a beautiful wife and all that shit, So, dabbling in that industry, I made my mark in that industry, and I definitely got so much hands-on business experience. Things that, fuck, man. I mean, people making a lot of money. Experiences that they don't have. Experiences and opportunities to start with nothing. I took no loans and built an amazing company and owed nobody nothing. You know what I mean? Dealt with the biggest jagoffs in the world in any industry and smoothed them and got them to bend my way. Won fights I didn't think I would fight. My industry took me to the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. I sat there in front of Ruth Ginsburg and Scalia and some of those other pricks. You know what I mean? I've done amazing things. I learned how to read law, So, I never liked that industry, and I always liked my industry, and I dabbled in my industry, kept it around, kept it on the back burner, and that's when I stumbled into Adam Pearce, Adrian Lynch, and some others, And by accident, I ended up seeing what was out there as far as training goes and what the industry had become and what it was becoming and what a fucking joke it was, So I ended up putting my sweat, tears, and blood and emotional investment into motherfuckers and not getting nothing for it. And my hobby, it's too much, motherfucker. I'm not going to do that shit. I'd rather be with my kids, That's when I decided I was going to start a training school when I saw what was out there, Now, I start the training school, but I also start running live events, because I wanted to mash my two companies or industries that I know well into one and make a motherfucking living, and leave myself exempt from lawsuits and risks from the other industry, And it was an ingenious thing, and I did it a handful of times, and it really worked out well, with wrestling and the fundraising. That was great, life plays out like life plays out. So, I got tired of renting a ring from retards, and I got tired of renting a ring, period. It's a pain in the ass. They squeeze you, these indie idiots. You wouldn't fucking eat lunch with these idiot assholes. So they like squeeze you, you know what I mean? They fuck with you because they have some sort of weird ass control. What are you gonna do on the day of with no ring, you know? So I said, fuck it. I found out where this ring was, which was given to us by Chief J Strongbow at World Wrestling Federation. It was the Cincinnati house show ring. And at that point, they used to leave rings in buildings, you know, WWE, WWF. And I wouldn't be surprised if they still have some buildings that they do that in, because it makes life so much easier, you know.
They might. Wouldn't surprise me if they had one at the Horizon, because that's one of their favorite places to
yeah, I bet you they do it
play.
to regular buildings.
Yeah.
You know, once you take a ring down, I mean, it's fucking like a motherfucking carport, you know. You could fit it in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we end up with this ring, and I flew down to Tampa Bay, bought the ring, drove it back, which was cool, you know. And that's when I started to run live events. So I'm running live events, it's going good. I'm thinking, you know, I had to pay my dues again, by the way. Running live events in fucking the Midwest is way worse than running live events in the Mid-South. You got nothing, and the biggest thing you needed then, the biggest component you needed was television. There was a time where people could run wrestling and just sing, and it's true, you've heard that statement. Have you heard that term, if the marquee says pro wrestling? Have you ever heard that term?
I don't think I have.
So it used to be like you could say pro wrestling, and you didn't have to say who it was, and people would come. You know what I mean? Then people watered that down and fucked it up. Then there was a guy, I forget his name, but he used to do shows where he would have Hulk Hogan, Colonel Slaughter, you know what I mean? And he would have guys that looked like those guys. You know what I mean? And then people get to go, oh, I got fucked.
Yeah.
Then they're never coming back, you know what I mean?
But no copyright infringement.
No, but what a way to kill people, you know?
Yeah, it's sleazy.
So anyway, that evolves. I run a bunch of shows, no names on it. You know, that's where CM Punk had his first match. That's where Jay Bradley had his first match. That's where Adam Pearce had his first match, you know what I mean? And that's where Kamikaze Ken Anderson or Mr. Kennedy had his first match, and some others, you know, on those shows, you know. My original intent was, and I had the money at the time, I wanted to get television on the UPN stations in Green Bay, Madison, and Milwaukee. And I wanted to run in Kenosha, Racine, Green Bay, and this other building, which was in Tri-Counties. It was in 3 counties near Madison, you know. That would have been great. But what I ended up doing was just ended up with the Madison TV, which was great. I learned the hard way, put a lot of money into it, blah, blah, blah. So, part of what made me get that television was I had this idea, and I knew Terry Taylor, but not well. You know, I knew Terry from working at WWE, WWF, and Terry's ever complimented me. Terry barked at someone once for working stiff with me, which was kind of cool. You know what I mean? When he was just a performer, just talent, you know. Terry's working for WCW now, and I was friends with Burt Prentice, you know. And Burt had a fucking developmental deal with WCW, you know. He was making a salary. God, that motherfucker, man. Burt Prentice is a really smart guy, but the problem with a Burt Prentice type promoter is he can't evolve. He's got too much of that old school bullshit. If there was a Hulk Hogan or a Steve Austin, there was this guy, he looked like Austin. He used to come in and, I don't know what, he'd stunner people and leave. He couldn't wrestle. Some people, and I think even in Europe, they advertised him as Stone Cold Steve Austin, you know, before the internet got real big. He would do that, you know, if he could make a buck and pay that guy $750. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You can't do that and function. Like, it's time for that shit to start turning into a real business. Start doing things like a business person, you know. And Burt is a resilient, resourceful son of a bitch, but he just can't help but he got too much of the scorpion in him and not enough frog, you know. So Burt has his television in Nashville. He has the towns that he was running. He has money per guy that he gets from WCW. WCW is paying for his television. They were paying and buying him production equipment. They were giving him money per guy that he booked off their roster. And then that motherfucker was getting everybody booked for WCW TV for R&B security and shit like that. but he was also making those guys work for free for him to keep that deal for them, which was a lot of money, man. That was $1,000 a week. They paid really good, but then he was taking a percentage, you know, and fucking say, give me my percentage or you don't get booked next week, you know. The problems that came with that, Dave Penzer, do you know who that is?
I know the name.
Dave Penzer used to commentate for WCW, not commentate, ring announce.
Oh, he was the announcer, right?
He's a fucking stooge, asshole cunt, you know. He was such a cunt. He got so cocky thinking he was one of the boys hanging out with the boys. So he was the stooge, you know. Everybody that did extra work, whether they had a match or they fucking appeared as R&B security or whatever the fuck, had to give him their invoice to get paid. Well, that motherfucker was sitting in that shit sometimes 4 or 5 months not thinking about people needing that motherfucking money. Just to be a cocky fuck. Just because he could. Because he was a fucking wormy cocksucker that got a little juice and could abuse people, you know? And he did, you know? That didn't bother me. I had income coming in. That was just supplemental and more, you know, is that something, a grand, let's see, $2,000 a month? $2,500 a month was supplemental for me then. That was I wish I still had that money.
Wow.
But anyway, that's where I started to do my own shit. Since I got an idea, Terry, I know you're blah, blah, blah. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if you fucking worked again? What are you talking about? I got this shit I do up in Wisconsin. I want to book you, you know? And I want to book you against a kid. He's a friend of mine, a real friend of mine from the area, and I want to pitch it and build it up as, because I had a whole bunch of media ties, you know, then newspapers people read and shit, you know. If he beats you, that motherfucker's on Raw the next Monday night, you know. And I said, and I'm not lying to nobody, because let's face it, if that motherfucker impresses you, you'd book that bitch on Nitro, wouldn't you? You know, he's like, it's pretty fucking good. Yeah, I'd love to do that, you know. Terry comes in, works for me, likes the guy, but tells the guy the reality of the situation. The guy looked great. He's a nice fucking guy. He moved well for a fucking 275-pound former Wisconsin bench champion. But he said, you got no wind. I'm fucking got one foot in the grave, and you blew up 5 minutes before I did, you know? So it didn't work out. But it was really cool because the way we did the finish was Terry puts him over anyway and goes, okay, you beat me. First lesson is people in the industry lied. I lied. You don't get shit. You know? That was great. You know? So I started talking to Terry without burying Bert, showing this guy how I do things, and also realizing that they didn't have to fire Bert to hire me as a developmental territory. See? So that's what I did. You know, I started with that shit, and it took a while, and Terry liked the idea, and he passed it up the chain, and it got its approval. You know what I mean? In the meantime, you know, I had to make my TV work. It was working. It was paying for itself. And that's when WCW closed its doors. It was fucking horrible while my papers were being processed, you know. That's very disheartening. And where this all came from is Matt Vine called me yesterday and said, and I love when they do this, especially him, because he used to be such a punk. How do you keep motivated with all the bullshit you have to deal with around this company? You know? And that's what I'm getting at here. How do I keep running? You see? So I'm going to keep this shit going. You know what I mean? It was the North American Wrestling Federation. I found ways to make it work. I found ways to make money. And it was pretty cool. There was a group of smart marks in the Chicago area. The only ones that have half a brain that don't listen to like fucking Steve Boz and TJ Steele, S-T-E-A-L, Steele. TJ Steele? Yeah. And what's the other cocksucker's name? Blaze. Jimmy Blaze. You know, where they talk all this shit about me and try to bury me. I mean, man, look me up on the internet. You ain't going to find shit. You know what I mean? Look into my motherfucking background. You ain't going to find shit, you know? I have so many people in so many places, not just wrestling. Like my state's attorney writes me a letter of recommendation. You know what I mean? The type of fucking human being that I am. The type of parent that I am and how active I am with this opiate initiative. You know what I mean? That's me. You're going to find shit on me that's bad, you know? You'll find a lot of false claims, but every one have been disproved, like this one. So, what was I saying before I went on that shit?
Why you keep operating here?
Oh, yeah. So, I found ways to do it, and to do it, you have to take chances and to sell my shows that I sold to like the military bases and my other sold shows and fundraisers and for entertainment, fair festivals, things that I did. That group of smart marks were like, look at this fucking guy make a living out pro wrestling and he has no name. He's the only guy in the country that can do that, And it's true. I never stopped and thought about it until I read that written somewhere and said, motherfucker, I didn't realize. That's kind of cool that somebody else realized it before I realized it. That's when you know you're on the right track, So I booked this show because I really still saw, with or without WCW's rub, having television in Milwaukee. And when did WCW close down?
2001.
2001. Even having television there, because I found out what I needed and who I needed to contact and all that shit. I could have drawn a lot of money in racing and Kenosha. Between the two of them, there were 200,000 fucking people, I had some good success in both towns, you know what I mean? And then the TV was reasonably priced. It was reasonably priced. Now, I couldn't follow WCW's Saturday show like I did in Madison. What I could follow there was ECW show, late night Saturdays, which is cool because a lot of people are watching that, And I started to make my relationships with buildings and things up there. Now, there's a building in Cudahy, Wisconsin it used to be called Texas Victory Hall or Victory Hall, not Texas, that's the guy's nickname. Great Lakes Championship Wrestling ran there, and that was Rich Finke and David Hero, who were good guys. Dave was a good guy. I haven't talked to Dave in a long time, but I'm sure he's a fucking decent person. He comes from good stock. I love his father, Lou. They're they got a great story about America because Lou came from, Lou's Syrian? Which one is famous for food? Syria, right?
You got on the food thing. You got me beat, but
anyway,
it's two different cultures: Syrian and Assyrian.
Yeah, I know the words just fucked me up because you know how I am. But and I'm not the only one. I remember them saying it. Dave's dad is Syrian, and he's got a great fucking story, man. He made a lot of money, a lot of success. The guy lived the American dream. So I'm always going to credit Dave and respect him and his father for that shit, But then, Dave wasn't running Texas anymore because he was running things at a higher level. He was running things where he was spending $10,000, and the most he can make is $5,000. I don't do that. I never have done that. So I learned how to make money versus whatever the fuck. So now I'm like, Dave, I hope I'm not stepping on any toes. I want to run. Oh no, man, I'll even help you, which he did. But in the same token, I'm not going to take advantage of this guy. If he ain't getting nothing out of it, I'm not going to fucking work him like people work people in this industry, So I accepted help, but did most of it myself, even most of the motherfucking groundwork, the footwork. Go up there and flyer my motherfucking self. I'll do that where I'll walk into a place and ingratiate myself with the owner because I know that's prime real estate where I'm going to put my shit up, And I'm one way. I'm one way with them, like I'm one way with you, like I'm one way with everybody. My kids, but my youngest kid. So I says to myself, during that WWF stuff, I was over really big with Tony Garea and Chief J Strongbow. Then that spawned into Killer Kowalski, Arnold Skolin, George the Animal Steel, Rene Golay, and some others that aren't coming to mind right now. George the Animal Steel, Jim Myers, was more over than you people could ever imagine. Even you people that are familiar with Hulk and WWE's Attitude Era with Rocky and Stone Cold Steve Austin, He was so over, but at the time they didn't know how to parlay that into merchandising, etc. You know what I mean? If you want to talk about live tickets, fuck you. You know what I mean? So over, dude. When Jim Myers, it's so funny, kayfabe was still alive. So he pulls me aside and says, Chief says I should talk to you. What do you think of myself and some other guys, there's some old timers, I forget who they named off. could go out there and not do what we used to do, but go out there and maybe do something in the ring where we draw. And I go, you have no fucking idea how you motherfucking draw. You know what I mean? I'm like, I love the fucking idea, and I'm glad that you brought it up because I've been thinking this for a long time, you know? So me and Jim put something together, and he gives me such a reasonable price. And I kind of teach him too at the same time. Here's how you're gonna have to merchandise the Polaroids 8x10s if you can fucking do it. Shirts. He goes, I got one case. I wish I would have had more of these motherfucking mines. You ever see the doll? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I wish I had that motherfucking ice cream bar. You know what I mean? So sells the motherfucking mines. I says, let's try this, man. I'll order some fucking turnbuckles. You know, you bite the bitches and I'll sign them. You know what I mean? And we'll sell them. And they sold on eBay. I sold all of them, you know. And that's something we were going to do together. I was going to provide him. He was going to fuck with him, you know. But we never got around to it because life happened. So one of the first shows, this Cudahy show I told you about, I got a relationship and met and ingratiated myself with Mancow Muller when he was #1 in Chicago on Q101, #2 in Milwaukee, Morning Guys. That's juice, you know. I met him through WCW, and he was a wacky motherfucker.
I remember his show.
Yeah, but like in real life, he was even wackier then. And I think he had some demons. It was pretty obvious that he did. But he worked that shit out, you know. For whatever reason, he made everybody in the room uncomfortable. But I was not uncomfortable. I had a weird kind of... He didn't fuck me up because I know a lot of people, you know. These weren't wrestling people, wrestlers. They were wrestling people, people who work for WCW, you know, because we were shooting stuff and I'm supposed to be doing this, that, you know. And Mancow was kind of out of it and actually thought I was real security and asked me to walk him to his vehicle and shit. It was funny. But anyway, there's likable qualities, and let's face it, this guy had juice. Are you old enough to remember when he was #1?
Yeah, faintly, but I vaguely remember.
This was before fucking XM or Sirius, man. I mean,
yeah.
Satellite radio.
No, when he was on, when he was on Chicago radio.
Q101.
Just the mic real quick here. All right. Yeah, Q101. He also had a short-lived TV show, I think, on Chicago Public Access.
Yeah, okay. So, you know, I met the guys. The guy I really liked was Freak. He was a fucking good guy. For those of you that don't know, he was one of the characters on the show and also actually worked as a producer, you know. Not the producer, but as a producer. Smart guy. I don't know when those motherfuckers slept, if at all, you know. I made contact with Mancow, and I said, how do you feel about me bringing George Animal Steel to the studio? You know? He fucking freaks out. And I go, fuck, Jim means more than I thought he meant, you know? Freaks the fuck out, can't talk. He's so excited. Then I'm trying to book a date, and I'm like, why in the fuck can't I get through to Jim Lynham, the producer or director? He won't return my calls. You know, Kyle was all fucking jacked. This motherfucker. So I couldn't wait no more. I says, fuck it, I'm gonna bring Jim in. I'm just gonna walk him into the studio. I don't understand what's going on here, you know? And that's what I did. You know? Now, I got Jim another booking with something to do with the Chicago Bears. And I brought him in. He's getting the 2 payoffs as a courtesy to me, and he knows that it's for him in the long run. The motherfucker gets up at 4 a.m. and we take off and go to Mancow studio downtown, which sucks a fucking dick, man. That's horrifying drive at that hour. You're so tired, you know? Get Jim in there, and that motherfucker just starts tearing the studio up and going after Turd. In character, you know? He refused to break character for 10 fucking minutes, man, and Kyle is eating that shit up. He's knocking over furniture. You know, they used to have all that, everything was printed on dot matrix shit.
Yep.
This is fucking 5-foot stack of dot matrix stick, and George just finds that with important shit on, just tears into it, and paper flying. Paper is floating down to the ground from the ceiling, the whole rest of the thing.
Jesus.
He put Jim on for the whole morning, man. You know? So I know I'm gonna draw. You know? Jim gets picked up by the Bears. I pick him up from that. He goes, oh my God. So they had all these swinging dick bears from 85, man. and Jim sold more shit than the Bears. Because people didn't have access to him in Chicago. They knew who the motherfucker was, but they could never come and shake his motherfucking hand. They never knew he really spoke. You know what I mean? So now we go up to my town. I don't pay attention to what's going on around me. At this point, I was more emotionally stable because I couldn't see what was coming down the pike in my life. Paid attention to what I did. And I had a great deal with the building. The building says I have to sell, I think it was 500 tickets. And then I get the building for free. If I sell 499 tickets, I got to pay $1,500. You know, which is that's some old-timey shit. You know what I mean? And on one hand, I'm like kind of gay and respectful of that deal. Because he says, if you sell this much, I figure this is what I'm going to get from my bar, and we're cool, you know? I figured, well, fuck, we'll see how powerful Mancow is in Milwaukee. I'm going to learn the hard way, you know? So I do the building. Justin, I sell like 482 tickets.
Damn.
Now, I agreed to 500, bro. I'm behind the 8 ball. It's bell time, you know? And I got to work and promote and all the bullshit in the main event with Jim because I got to make sure he don't get hurt. He's an old guy, you know? So I started hearing some shit that there's a backyard federation up there that is pissed off at me because they were booked in not Cudahy, but another close suburb up there in Milwaukee. And they can't run their garbage show because they say, someone said, I called the city and reported them. Huh. I'm like, when the fuck did I have time for that? And I don't really give a fuck about anybody else right now. I gotta focus on this. I gotta fucking figure out how to get this fucking shit up to 500. I need 17 more people, you know what I mean? But I wasn't gonna do that. I mean, Tex would have known I was grabbing people off the street going, come on in for free, you know what I mean? I didn't do that shit. It's just shady. I want to come back. I build long-term relationships, you know? So, the Love Machine, Matt Longtime is on the show, and he's still a young guy in the industry, but, you know, I'm getting close to him, you know what I mean? And he's coming along as a performer, and you know the guy's a great veteran. I mean, a real veteran, you know?
Class act.
He lives up there. I want to say he lived in South Milwaukee, which is right fucking there, you know? I told you before, Matt Longtime is a shoot tough guy. Sweetest guy in the world, greatest sense of humor. Don't fuck with him, you know? I seen him. I don't think I see anybody hit harder than Matt Longtime in my life. If you get hit by Matt Longtime, you're fucked. You know what I mean? You're fucked. You know, which is so hilarious to me. So of course I put Matt in that match because I know Matt's not gonna hurt him. I think it was me and someone against me and I don't remember. But anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is this. So these people get all fired up, and I'm starting to get some inside information. Do you know what those cocksuckers did while I was in the ring? Turns out one of them went to the show. They broke the windows out in my motherfucking expedition.
Oh, Jesus.
With a baseball bat.
Oh, fucking assholes.
Both the driver's side and the fucking passenger side front windows. Not the windshield, but the, you know, in the doors. So we're doing this thing, and Jim, I don't remember exactly what, but Jim had this great idea about doing an outside of the ring brawl, and it was really great but safe, you know? So I'm doing it, and all of a sudden, some big bitch pushes the back of my head, and I turn around and BAM! I nailed this fucking fan. It ain't no fan. That's a cocksucker that broke my shit. Glasses go flying, big bitch goes, and he comes up and his eyes are going like this, and come on, motherfucker, come on. You know what I mean? This is before I knew what he'd done to my car. You know? I can't believe it. You know? So, now back to the moral of the story. Here's the moral of the story. It's winter, okay? I got a wife who fucking hates my guts. Because now I got to pay $1,500 for this fucking building, okay? You know what I'm saying? My windows are broken out. What about the goddamn, what do you call that shit? Your insurance. The shit that you gotta pay that's not covered.
Deductible?
Deductible, thank you. I know what it was, I just couldn't.
Yeah.
So anyway, I got all this shit on my mind, man. I'm flipping shit. Jim Myers says, I can't believe this shit. You know? Matt Longtime goes, I know who they are, I know where they are. If anybody's going to get the fucking shit knocked out of them, it's them. Let's go. I look at Patrice. She didn't hear it. I'm like, let's go. We'll do that shit and then we'll come tear down, you know? Thanks. So we go driving, take one fast flight, and long time's flying. That's another thing. Long time is motherfucking Mario Andretti, man. You know? We get pulled over a block away from the building.
Oh.
So during that time, I go, man, you're already fucked. That's all you need. Now there's proof. We go jump somebody. You got the ticket. They know it's us and we're on our way. I don't want you to get in trouble, and I should probably fucking find another way to deal with this. So I'm sitting there thinking in my head, what am I going to do? You know what I mean? By the time I paid Jim and all the other bullshit, I ain't going to have nothing. I lost my fucking dick. You know what I mean? The owner of the building comes up to me out there and goes, what the fuck happened? And he goes, I can't believe this, and I feel responsible. Well, the building's free. You know? Huh. Cops come. I say, okay, I'm going to call the cops, report the shit. Cops look at it, do the report. And I say, yeah, but that's the thing, man. You fuckers hate us up here. This thing ain't going nowhere. I don't know why we're bothering, you know? And he's like, will you relax? Not all of us hate fibs, you know? All right, whatever you say. So we do the drive back, no windows. That sucked, fucking winter. Get a call a day or two later, and the cop says, I found the fucking guy, and I got a proposal for you. I said, no, you didn't. He goes, yes, I did. He goes, I'm ready to charge this motherfucker out the ass. But you're not going to get any money, okay? I would like to broker a deal where you get your money from me. This guy pays you in full. You give me a receipt under the agreement that we don't charge him and arrest him for criminal damage. You know? I'm like, well, fuck, I guess that's how an adult would do it. And I'm like, I can't believe this cop is being so cool to me. You know? But he said that was fucked up what they did. I didn't, whatever. So, my dad is a friend, Italian guy, and auto glass. You know? So, let's look at this. I bit the bullet and acted like a normal, rational human being, Justin. I got $1,500 rent, free. I got to keep my gate. Now I made money that night. I get my shit fixed for $400 cash under the table, and the guy writes me an invoice for $1,200 because that's what it would have costed, and I get my $1,200 from the cocksucker that broke my window.
Money fight.
So you see what I'm saying? That's how I stay that way. It takes a lot of work, a lot of talking to God, communicating with God, removing the blocks and barriers, which are my fucking stressors, fears, anger, pain. You know? And that's what I do, and that's what I try to set an example for guys like Vine, for example, or assholes like you even, you know? So, the people behind that, Frank fucking DeFalco and Carmine DeSpirito. They were behind it, I know for a fact, as the cop fucking did the investigation. That's where I got the shit from. They called, now Carmine DeSpirito had some garbage called Mid-American Wrestling. You know, he's just a fucking no-good, drunken, bisexual fucking creeper, you know? Go ahead, sue me, bitch. I can tell you more than one person. He was married, big fucking mark. He was a married guy, but he would get shit-faced and blackout drunk, and then he would hit on some of the guys, the indie guys. And then I know one guy, at least one guy, that punched him in the mouth and he was drunk and tried to grab his fucking prick. But because he was a promoter, nobody was promoting at the time, people put up with his bullshit. And Frank DeFalco, that's where Bruce City came from. This guy, Carmine, he never made no money, man. He was just a fucking mark, and he lost a lot of money, so he was going to move back, and I don't know, I noticed some subsidization from his parents. But that's where Frank snuck in and started Bruce City Wrestling, because they were working together at the time. You know, so there's some guys actually that work for Frank right now that know the history of this shit, and I don't know how or why they would still do that. You know, so this is what we're surrounded by here, but the cream is going to rise to the top, because I guarantee you, let's look at that thing now. So I made about $2,500 that night. Mid-America or Bruce City Wrestling never made that much money in one night off an indie show that wasn't sponsored or sold. You know what I mean? So that's just an example. And that was 20 years ago. 20 years ago. Yeah. You know, so that's the kind of shit that we're up against, but we'll just keep plugging and keep doing what we're doing, you know? we're still in the throes of this corona shit, but goddamn business is coming up, and this talent is developing like no one's fucking business, even our green guys.
Oh, hell yeah.
You know?
Look at the social media numbers.
Yeah.
These idiots can say anything they fucking want about us. Put together, they don't have, I think, even a third of the YouTube presence that we have.
And thanks for reminding me of that, too. So one of those little bitches said that we buy subscribers on YouTube, right? First thing is, you couldn't possibly buy how many we have, but if you get caught buying subscribers on YouTube, they shut down your channel.
Yeah.
So, fuck you, suck my dick. You know what I mean? Just ridiculous how the things and rationalizations have come up for basically sucking, you know? They stole my footage to pimp their garbage we're back thing this week. First one in at least 5 months, maybe more. 4 or 5 months, I don't know. Anyway, I was like laughing to myself because they booked it without even seeing the building, and I was like, that building can't fit no wrestling in it. So after they obviously looked at the building, because they announced this week that it's going to be outdoors. You know? So, I'm going to do the rain dance just because I'm half a prick. You know, they're not going to hurt us either way. I know that we're good Saturday because we got some groups coming out, you know, that support us. I love it. But, you know, I don't want to see them succeed being as fucking sane and doing the shit that they've done to me and us.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So I hope it rains. And if it doesn't rain, it still ain't going to matter because somebody's ass going to get bit up on mosquitoes like a motherfucker. And either way, it's going to be hot like it is now Friday. Or Saturday, I think they're running.
Yeah, I think so.
Know? So, you know, if I just stay true to the course, people get what they reap what they sow. You know what I mean? And that's life. And I like when that happens. I like when there's accountability, you know? I don't fuck with anybody. I don't want to be fucked with. If you fuck with me, it could be lethal. It could be dangerous if I can't get right with God before I take an action. And that's what I really try to do.
You know what one of my favorite sayings of all time is? It's, leave it to God to dish out justice, and if he's feeling generous, he might just let you watch.
Well, you know, I'm going to fucking preach a little here, my man. You know, Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. The people cried to Jesus, but Lord, what of our enemies? He said, ask my Father to bless them. They're his problem. And ask my Father to help them open their hearts to him. That's great on paper, man. And it sounds great from here. But get in my face and I forget that shit.
Hurt somebody I care about.
Yeah.
That's my thing.
Yeah. Well,
I can take so much shit on me. You go after somebody I care about. I don't even want to get into it.
Yeah, it's such a waste of energy, but it is what it is, you know. And I'm not saying it's like a hard ass. I'm just saying, fucking leave me alone. You know what I mean? Leave me the fuck alone. That's all. Live and let live. That's it. You know? I'll do the same. You know what I mean? Then the other thing that keeps me going is I look for signs. I look for the signs, you know? I look at some of these guys' little fucking faces and imagine where they'd be, you know, without me. At the end of the day, nobody knows who the fuck TJ Steele, Steal, is. And the people that know Boz laugh like a motherfucker that have any juice. They used to laugh so hard at this mullet, man. That was so awesome. Cornette it was a rib to get him to cut that goddamn mullet. You know what I mean? Let's laugh so hard. Look what fell out of Shawn Michaels' nose. This guy thinks this and that. You know what I mean? He's like Shawn Michaels' dink. You know what I mean? But he couldn't do the shit that Shawn could do, you know? These people know who the fuck Matt Vine is, you know? They know who the fuck Chase Gosling is. They know who the fuck Sensei is. They know who the fuck Anestra is. And they're starting to get to know the rest of this roster. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Names, their pictures, their videos. You know what I'm saying? Fuck you. You know, CSW talks shit about me and tries to cock block me getting students and stuff. You could never touch me. You could never touch us. And World Wrestling Entertainment knows that, along with other companies internationally.
Uh-huh. And it's because the emphasis is on what happens in the ring.
Yeah.
What is known as, get this, wrestling.
Exactly. You gotta know this industry before you can fucking train people. You gotta know this industry before you can be a successful promoter. you know, and getting lucky once in a while, which really it isn't luck. Again, I'll say it. If you want to work, Powell was charging people, and I think they still do it when they run, which is not very often, $75 if you want to work on Jimmy Blaze's show. You know?
For what kind of exposure?
Exactly. But you got to pay $75. And then CSW makes you pre-sell tickets. BCW makes you pre-sell tickets with the exception of a few. You have to sell 12 tickets at $20 a piece, or be responsible for that $240. You know, you'll get paid. You get paid $20 if you're lucky, and after you fucking humiliated yourself with your friends and family for the umpteenth time just to get booked. You know, we don't do that. We draw organically. I've never forced anyone to sell a fucking ticket. You know,
it's not the honorable way to do business.
No, man, and at the end of the day, you know, go to my fucking Facebook personal wall, and you'll see people that are currently swinging dicks at World Wrestling Entertainment commenting on my shit, sharing my shit, liking my shit.
Saw one just today.
With Juice, with Major Juice at Vince's. This is my personal shit, okay? That's cooler. I don't want them to like my fucking wrestling shit, because they're my friend, okay? They're people that I bond with, people that I've worked in the ring with, people I've worked with at other wrestling companies that were considered the big two or the second biggest, you know what I mean? Shit like that. That's me. Let's see these other cocksuckers. Let's see Frank DeFalco's bullshit. Let's see Steve Boz's bullshit, or TJ Steele. You know what a fucking bogus ass name? That's got to be the third or fifth TJ Steele I've heard of since I've been in the industry. Come up with something better. You know what I mean? So, I'm done. I'm off my soapbox. And my brother, I've got to fuck with this canvas, and I'd appreciate some help getting it outdoors.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I got a little bit of time. Can help you with that.
It ain't going to take long.
Yeah, so we're going to wrap it up for this week. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, for being
was
patrons.
this a good one?
Yeah, it was a good one.
Okay.
But thank you guys, as always, for being patrons.
Yes.
And, you know, if people are curious, point them to our YouTube channel. We got those free clips every single week.
And I just got accepted into the Patreon group on Facebook, so look for more stuff as we develop. I sent you the fucking clip. You know, sold the fucking clip. If you like the fucking clip, then you fucking, you know, get in there, and then they'll prove you or not. You know what I mean, you asshole?
I'll have to look back to my messages.
Yeah, Smithers. You didn't fucking do it. You Smithers to me.
What, you might have sent it on a night when I had just worked 12 hours. Who knows? My brain might have been mush.
Yeah, I know. I can't fucking break balls. That's what I do, motherfucker.
I know that's what you do.
But
Hell,
anyway,
if there's a day that goes by where you don't call me an offensive name, I'll feel like you're upset with me or something.
Yeah, right. So look for that. More developments in how we're going to hone this out and use the Patreon principles to build our shit, you know, in our industry. There might be some people dabbling, but I don't think they're where we're at yet. And again, this is still beta stage stuff. The more brain power I have available, the more I will put into this, you know. But at least I know we're not fucking you on content.
Nope. And get out here on Saturday. We got the tag titles and the Armageddon Gauntlet. Remember, Inestra is the Armageddon champion, so he's going to be defending that in the gauntlet against whoever lasts.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to make that the motherfucking opener Saturday.
Really?
Yeah, that hit me today in the shower, so I know it's a good idea. We never did that before.
No.
You know?
No, that's always been the main.
And then we'll put the belts on the line in the main.
I like it.
Yep.
Switch it up. So thank you guys again, and we will see you next time.